the one and only sexy mama, LaDonna Raeh.
LaDonna Raeh Show. We're back. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the all-new LaDonna Raeh Show. I think I've gotten into the habit of saying all new because, as you guys know, I've been a permanent addition to the WVON with the all-new afternoon show. So let me back that up. All right. Welcome to LaDonna Raeh Show. I'm your host, LaDonna Raeh, and today we have a special guest. This brother has been using the mic to heal before even social media even had filters. Okay, back in 2004, I believe it was, he was blowing minds with earth-shattering poetry. And now, fast forward to 2025, he's out here using that same mic to spark a citywide ceasefire. Featured in Austin Weekly News, poet and activist Kweisi Gharreau, am I saying it right? Gharreau. That's shame on me, people. Kweisi Gharreau is leading a 4-day community series of open mics called Peace, Love, Forgiveness, Poetry and Comedy on the Block, happening on both the west side and the south sides of Chicago this Memorial Weekend. And yes, he's going to wear a shirt any given time that says, I sell dope. But it's not what you think. For Kweisi, dope stands for drive, ownership, power, enlightenment. And that's exactly what he's pouring into our communities, ladies and gentlemen. You all give it up for Kweisi. Hi, Kweisi.
Peace, LaDonna Raeh. How you doing?
I'm doing super well. I just want to make sure that everybody knows who you are, what you've done, because I've watched you blossom. And I love saying the word blossom because, from whence we came.
Yes.
You came in hitting hard, okay? But I want to make sure that people know who you are from my perspective. And then you just give us a little bit of, what to expect. Because it's Memorial Day weekend. And I think people are buying barbecue, or I should say they're buying food to cook on the grill, even though it's a little chilly in Chicago. But you got something else planned. What's going on?
Yeah, so as you know, LaDonna, unfortunately, I've been in this space for 51 years and dealing with gun violence in my family. When my uncle Levi was first killed in 1974, I was 4 years of age. And I could still hear the screams of my aunt, Poochie, Pam, and Pat when that particular night happened. And then fast forward a few years dealing with a domestic violence situation with my sister who unfortunately shot and killed my nephew's father to protect herself and her son. In that situation in 1989, 1992, January 11th, 1992, my younger brother, James Lemar Ford, was tragically killed. His intrepid act protected a friend from two guys kidnapping, raping, and perhaps, taking her life. And then 2 years later, my cousin, Dan Howard, was killed the same day, the same way my younger brother Lamont was killed. I was so traumatized, LaDonna, I didn't even go to his homegoing. And then fast forward a few years, I have a nephew that was shot twice, once 8 times, survived, the second time, once survived, and he knew his ops. He knew him, and he didn't snitch on him. And so as recently as a few years ago, my 12-year-old nephew, Quentin Jr., was robbed at gunpoint for his $20 bubblegum and candy. So unfortunately, I have tasted this on many levels, both with my sister dealing with the situation. She said she had to sit for 2.5 years for manslaughter, and teaching her forgiveness of herself, teaching my nephew the importance of forgiveness, forgiving of his father posthumously, so forgiving his mom, and then with my brother, writing and meeting the young brothers who killed my brother. And so when I was in Hollywood for 17 years, from 2006 to 2023, I would see the horrific news, the horrific national news on Chicago regarding Memorial Holiday weekend being its most violent weekend, and that becoming the historic factor in it, because anywhere from 50 to 80 people to 100 people may have been shot and or killed. And so in January 23, when I received a email from the Department of Culture and Special Events to apply for the inaugural Poet Laureate position, I said, when I go back to Chicago, I'm going to do something about this Memorial Holiday weekend, because it being violent, it sets the tone for the rest of the summer. And people are truly scared out here that they can't walk to the store, go to church, go to the laundromat, or what have you. And so I had a conversation with an undergraduate friend of mine, Cook County Commissioner Tara Stamps, and I shared the idea with her, and she said, "Well, Quaishi, this is the concrete jungle of all concrete jungles, and so you're gonna have a mighty boulder to push up a hill."
Hmm.
She said, "But whatever you need from me, I'll support you. I encourage you." Because she knew me when I was an undergrad at Central State, so she said she knew whatever I put my mind to, I was going to see it through to the end. So last year, my partner and I, Ms. Rosella Bynum, we implemented the Ceasefire Memorial Holiday Weekend Social Impact Initiative, the Peace, Love, Forgiveness, Poetry, and Comedy on the Block, to record low numbers. The data reports only 41 people were shot, only 9-10 would kill a person was stabbed. And that's historical low numbers during Memorial Holiday Weekend. And so this year we're gunning for a complete ceasefire where no one in Chicago gets shot or killed. And I say gunning, pun intended,
Hmm.
to the words of Biggie Small. My mind's my nine, my pen's my Mac 10, my target. Our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against authorities, against powers of the world, this world's darkness, and spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realm. So when you understand that as a believer, that you're really not fighting against flesh and blood, that you're fighting against a demonic, evil, gun violent spirit, you pray in that capacity. And last year, we passed out flyers, did interviews, social media, but we prayed. We prayed. And the
Yeah.
great prayer to prayer is Ephesians 6:12, the one that I just read. So I've been in this space and I've been passionate about it. And through my panoply of poetry, I have used my art as a way to heal the community because,
Well, wait, let me slide in for a
okay,
second.
no,
Because I know that you have been on WVON, you've been on featured in newspapers, magazines, on many different blogs, or should I say podcasts. And the messaging gets to be continuous, consistent. It is what we hear all the time. But what we don't hear, we give a gasp for just a moment and then we go back to business as usual. You just
yes.
talked about losing several people and several people being impacted by gun violence and being robbed. And someone would hear that and go, "Oh, honey, what do you want for dinner?" You see, so how do we get the numbness out?
So
Because
that,
all of this is groovy. I feel like I could slide in and ask you this. All of this is groovy. We're doing things to bring awareness. It's like we got the news, we got the ugliness, we're bringing the arts together. But how do we get the numbness out of people's ass? Because I
so
believe that is a big issue.
that's why I'm using my story to humanize it, because we get so much stats thrown at us regarding gun violence. People become numb to it. People see it on the news consistently, so people become numb to it. So the unique thing about my story, yes, I'm not the only black man that has faced dealt with the taste of losing a brother to gun violence. However, the unique thing about my story is that through the art of poetry, I mean, I had my dark moments in life where I turned to drugs, alcohol, being promiscuous, and dark thoughts of suicide. But poetry literally saved my life. And it's going to take the arts to change our culture, to
How
change
did
the
it save your
mindset.
life? How did it save your life?
Because it allowed me to express and really walk in the darkness of who I am and was as a person, to walk into my light, to deal with that pain, that hurt, that anger, that rage, and the trauma. I had to identify that, and through writing, I identified uh, that pain, that hurt, and I believe once you identify it, LaDonna, you could process it properly to heal yourself. Because we all have access to a pen and pad. We all have emotions. As you know, love can make you do some crazy things if you don't know how
Yeah.
to channel that emotion. So poetry, literally, and I never sought to be a poet. I thought poetry was for elite intellectuals, and I thought it was bland. And so it was never an art form that interests me.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, it is a very art that saved my life.
But I
And
can't tell because your poetry is just that creme de la creme. When I first heard you perform, I know that the sound, when people say they felt chills, it's so cliche, but I literally did. I mean, it was like goosebumps. And
yeah,
I'll never forget it. And it's funny because I was in my 20s when this happened. And when you performed, you didn't just stand there on the microphone. We could feel your pain. And that's why you say, okay, poetry saved my life. I was able to express myself. But you were able to express your pain. And I believe a lot of people, they internalize it and ultimately don't know what to do with it or how to get it out because it has to come out somewhere, somehow.
Hmm.
But you
Yeah.
were able to take the pen to paper and do something with it. And then let your audience take it in for a minute. Like let that sit for a minute, audience. And when the audience hears that and you see the reaction, how does that make you feel that you're dumping, not dumping, I don't want to say dumping. You're pouring your pain out from your
Hmm.
pen and then getting the reaction from the audience. And then I want to get back into our ceasefire Memorial Day weekend because I want people to understand this is not just some art program. This is not just some, okay, that's cute. We're writing for violence. No, it's not. This
No,
is
no.
therapeutic. This is
Yes.
mental health. So I want you to tell us, what did you feel when you poured your pain from the pen into the audience and the audience gave you the reaction that you received?
I think ultimately when I write, LaDonna, I write as a reflection of myself that people may see a reflection of themselves. And I write from the heart. The great thing about poetry, it allows me to be my authentic self. I don't have
Mm-hmm.
to hide or run for who I am. And I'm not afraid to be who I am and to share that. And so, and being vulnerable, I have found my strength. And I believe when the audience hear my poetry, they could see that transition emotionally. Oh, that hurt him, that was painful, that was trauma, that was anger. Oh, he hated it in that particular point in it. And all these feelings are natural. To hate is natural, it's okay. To be angry is natural, it's okay. But my goal has been, and through my art, is not to get stuck there and have a pity party regarding myself, because as you stated earlier, writing is therapeutic, it's mental health and wellness, and it allows one to look at themselves for who they are, the ugliness of who we are as human beings, to find and discover the beauty who we are. And so, art is what's from the heart, it's felt in the heart. And I think as human beings, we all are going through something. And so when we hear someone else's pain, it lets us know as a human being that I'm not, or you're not the only one going through it as well. And so if Kweisi wrote the two guys who shot and killed his brother to make peace, which is a tumultuous pain that no one wants to taste, but if he did that, maybe I could tap into that godly spirit, putting my pain, my hurt, my anger, my rage, my hate at the feet of Jesus and letting it go. Because when you forgive someone, it's really about you not being in the bars, the mental bars of those emotions of pain, hurt, anger. Because the person who may have done it, they're going on with their life.
Yeah.
Even if they died and you still carrying that pain. So that's the first principle you're taught, depending on your faith, is forgiveness. And so I've always been one to apply this principle to my life, um, growing up as a kid to now. So, but yeah, it's just it deals with your own mental health and wellness that you are able to free, and I've been able to free myself from that bondage of hate, anger, and rage. And I'm fallible still, just as any other human being. I'm not perfect, and I'm not holier than thou, and I don't claim to be righteous.
Mm-hmm.
I just like to use my story as a way to, help people perhaps find their vulnerability, through my vulnerability, that they may find their strength.
Now, Quasi, I mentioned that I've watched your poetic evolution since 2004.
Yeah, you
And
met me
then,
in 2004, but I've been in the space since 1993 when Rick Party put me on GCI radio.
yeah, that's true, because you had a different name then.
Yeah, my
But
name then was Arrogant Rob.
arrogant, that's right.
Arrogant or Arrogant Rob. Yeah, yeah. So,
So that's why I said I've watched your poetic
but
evolution
Lucy,
since
yes, you have.
2004. But you know what? You're right. You corrected me because not only did I watched it in person, but before that I heard it on the airwaves. So
Hmm.
shout out to Rick Party, my big brother. But
Yeah,
back
yeah.
then your words cut deep and now they seem to heal. When did the shift happen for you? Because you said, well, you know what you had for you are a forgiving person, but were you always? And I know you said
It's
there's an
been my
absolute
lifestyle.
there. It's
It's
been your
no,
life.
no. It's been my lifestyle.
So
So this is
five
not
years
a.
old, 5 years old, somebody would take your juice and you would be like, okay, you could just have it.
Pretty much. I mean, I was always the smallest kid in the classroom, so people took advantage of me. So in my in my innocence and humbleness, in my small size, I said, I ain't fighting over this.
Oh Lord.
I'll just let
Okay.
go. Like I tell you, I had an incident when I was a sophomore, and I'll be honest. My sister was a gangster, GD, when the gangs first broke, and my sister protected me from the block, and everybody knew I was Roro's little brother. So don't come. No, everybody knew the vice lords and the gangsters know. Oh, he not on that. That's Roro's brother. He's about being on the tumbling team, sports, and his school. So don't bother him. They just said, don't wear your hat to the left or don't wear your hat to the right. So I just kept, when I wore a hat, I just wore a neutral.
Kept it straight, right?
Kept it straight. And so my sister kind of protected me from the block in a sense. But nonetheless, I would still get picked on because I was the smallest person in the classroom. And I remember when I was a sophomore high school at Eisenhower High School, this brother, I don't want to put him on blast, but yo, it is what it is. Kenny Blue. He used to tease me
Not
and
Kenny
push me.
Blue.
Yeah. He used to tease me and push me around all the time, like up until like
Have you
8th
run
grade.
into Kenny Blue since then?
Yes. I was seeing him a couple years ago. Oh, it went well. We good. We good.
Yeah.
I got his number.
I'm friends with both of my bullies too.
Yeah. And so, man, this one time I got tired of him bullying me. I flipped him, put him on his back, broke his arm. And this happened in front of everybody. So he couldn't come back to school the next day or so and say, I fell down the stairs or I fell on the scale. It was like, nah, Lil Rob got at you, bruh.
Yeah.
And so at that point, nobody from my sophomore year on to college, nobody bothered me. You know what I'm saying? Because they saw, okay, if you get at him, he's going to stand up for himself and protect himself. But yeah, so I was always forgiving in this space. It's been my lifestyle. Like I was in college, undergrad. I'm a noob. I got into it with a Q-Dog. Q-Dog, we I'm a noob. I'm like, we walking, stepping around the party. I'm throwing my cane up 20 feet in the air, catching and snatching. And the ladies be calling your name like, yeah,
they
Rob,
do.
you know what I'm saying? And so, you get a little jealous. You get a bump when the Qs come walking by because we go one way, they go another. So after a couple bumps, I'm like, yo, man, you got to chill out. And then we was about to scuff, and everybody's like, no, don't scuff. We don't want the party to end. So y'all talk about it at the end. So we go to the little side room to talk about it. He in his pocket, the whole rip, snuffed me with some brass knuckles. 8 stitches right here on my left eye.
Dang.
Yeah. My blood was rushing down. It was a hysteria on the campus that particular night. And then the police officers called me a couple of days later and said, yo, do you want to press charges on the gentleman? Because he's on probation and he had to go sit for a minute. I'm like, nah, I forgive him. Just a little misunderstanding, but we all good. So I forgave him in that moment because I'm like, man, he ain't got to sit in jail because we got into a little scuffle. So what? He snuffed me or whatever. He thought that's the best thing he needed to do to hit me. I mean, he was bigger than me. He a Q-Dog or whatever. And then the next couple of days on campus when we saw each other, you know how brothers are when you show that respect and that love. You walk by each other, you get that little nod like, okay, you know what I'm saying? And we was on campus and that's what it was after that. You know what I'm saying?
So y'all were cool after that?
We were cool. Yeah, because he knew if I'd have, pressed charges on him or whatever, he'd have had to sit for a minute.
Yeah. That's good. I mean, I like hearing stories like that. Now, that brings me back to this whole gun violence situation. A lot of these stories you hear, it's always over something minute.
It's always.
And someone reaches in the pocket or the trunk or the bag and they're grabbing a gun because they have it. And what if they were able to minimize or redirect that anger and do something more positive? Because you're calling this weekend Ceasefire Weekend.
Yes, no doubt. Because we don't want anybody to get shot or killed. Because 3 seconds of an emotional outrage or being in a fit of rage could turn into a 25-year life sentence. And so I actually did an interview earlier today on WGN, and they say, what is one thing that you would share with young people? Think before you react. Because 3 seconds can turn into a 10 to 25-year life sentence on just some emotional, no discipline, losing self-control. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't think anything should feel that good that you would lose your freedom. Nothing should feel that good. It feels good to get you right then and there, but then you lose your freedom. I mean, because you're going to get caught.
Yeah, and then to go back even further with the history of doing this poetry on the block, late poet Sister Brenda Matthews, back in the day, a couple brothers got killed on the block. So she called the poets. A couple weekends we came out, spit, microphone, DJ, speakers, and we spit. So of course that mitigated and prevented gun violence. But the jungle becomes the jungle again once those weeds are not guarded properly. But nonetheless, we prevented for a few months no murder on the block. And so when I was in Hollywood and I saw what was going on, I said, when I get back, that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do poetry and comedy on the block. And comedy, because before there was a lot of poetry sets in Chicago, I would hit all the comedy spots to
Yes.
perform
Yes.
and open mic. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And
Yeah.
so I like, let's confuse the two. I mean, the slang term is commentary, but I'm just calling it poetry and comedy. And all the poets would respect me, and because I would be one of the few poets that would go to a Riddles, go to an All Jokes Aside, go to the Comedy Click, go to the Cotton Club, go to the Cubby Bear or whatever,
Hey,
to
I
perform.
hosted poetry at the Cotton Club.
Yeah. But that's before it became lit. Poetry
Yeah.
became lit
Yeah.
at the Love Jones.
Yeah, it
And
did.
then Love Jones, it was a poetry spot 7 days a week, Sunday
Yeah,
through
it
Sunday.
was all
Back
the
in the day,
time.
it was just Dejois and Spices. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? Those are only
Yeah.
two spots. And
Yeah.
then Love Jones hit, man, you couldn't go nowhere in Chicago without saying. And then Malik used to go to Spices together. Malik used to have the word
Yeah.
spit, 40-time Grammy nominee, won 8 times.
Of course.
We would go to Spices together. And then he started hosting Full Moon Poetry. I don't know if you remember. See, the thing that I loved about the Post back in the day, we were really involved in community activism
Yeah.
and community
Oh,
advocacy.
yeah.
I remember we did a 24-hour marathon to raise money to save Betty Shabazz Elementary School. Now, I don't know how
Yeah.
much money we raised, but to this day, Betty Shabazz Elementary School is still open.
Still open.
It's still open.
Every little bit helps.
You know what I'm saying?
Not to say that it was little.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so this weekend is about using the art and providing the community with a safe place for creative expression and to have fun.
Now,
So it's the ceasefire, but the message is peace, love, and forgiveness.
now, what do we as people need to do to unlearn about violence, manhood? How do we
Well,
deal with the
let me cut
pain?
you off real quick, LaDonna, because you know what put us in this position, right? It's the art. And matter of fact, it's Chicago's very own art and music that put us in this position, not just locally, but nationally and globally regarding drill music. Drill music drill is a slang for retaliation, revenge, and killing. And so it was founded here in Chicago by a rapper named Pac-Man and King Louie. In 2010. Then 2012, Lil Durk had a hit that it made go national and global. I'm gonna tell you, drill music is so influential that in the UK, where it's a country that doesn't have guns and the police don't even carry guns, they have a hip hop genre in the UK called drill music, where rappers are talking about shooting and killing each other, and they don't even have guns.
What are they shooting and killing each other with?
Their lyrics,
Water
that's it.
guns?
Their lyrics, they're copying the music that has come from Chicago. And so once we use our music, our art to change as artists, to change our lyrics and change our message, then we can see a cultural shift and the mental dynamic of our people. Because when you hear a 3-minute song and you hit 10, 15, 20 3-minute songs about killing, revenge, and retaliation, that sets in your mindset. Back in the day, Do or Die was talking about, ooh, smoke it on, hey, in the middle of the... Now, they were literally talking about cannabis, but they were 20 years, 30 years before their time. Now you have young rappers really talking about, I smoked somebody.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, and literally, when they
Proudly.
say smoke, they get the actions of smoke, but whatever. So I'm just saying, it's the artist. It was Chicago music that's been exported, that has went around the world, and you can see a direct correlation from 2010 to 2025, the uptick of gun violence, not just in Chicago, but America and other parts of the world.
I want to just point out that we gravitate because when I hear drill, I thought about like drilling as in dancing when I first heard the term drill music.
Mm-hmm.
But as you're talking about it, the term really means, and I'm pretty sure I'm right, to drill it in their heads. You see, the messaging is being drilled into our youth's minds
Mm-hmm.
so that they can enslave their minds instead of their bodies, and then enslave their bodies based on what they do from the music. We always refer to things like a whip, right? A car is a whip, but we
Mm-hmm.
used to get whipped by slave owners. I mean, why do we keep going back to that? A
Well,
crib.
we always take our dialect
I
and
ain't
flip it.
trying.
I
Look,
know,
I
but
ain't trying to
that's what
flip
it's
nothing. What it's
that's what it's
doing is
been, LaDonna.
it's going in somebody's head and saying, hey, I'm gonna smoke somebody. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like,
no, I completely
it's
understand,
just
but
too. It has to. We
but
have to take. We have to take control of the media that goes into our children's eyes and ears.
well,
And I
that we're
know.
not gonna be able to do unless we own the media. But our music, our art, we could definitely change that as artists,
Oh
as
wait,
poets,
hold
as
on.
writers.
I don't agree with that. You
No,
said
because
unless.
mainstream media, LaDonna, is always going to seek to
Okay,
control the
there's
narrative
mainstream media, but
and
then there's black
sensationalize.
media. There's black
Yes,
media. We don't have to subscribe to mainstream media.
we don't have to subscribe.
We're not supporting black media. Keep it real. We
Yeah,
will run
yeah.
to the
Run it back. You
ABCs.
can say that
We will
good. Run
run
it
right.
back.
Yeah, we'll run to the ABCs. We'll run to the CIUs. We'll run to those. We'll run to the GCIs. I mean, they all good and everything, but we don't run to VON. We don't run to Rolling Out Magazine. We don't run to the Hermine Hartmans. We don't run to those people.
Well, I'll
We
be
don't run
honest.
to the
I do.
Crusader.
I,
I'm not saying you or
no,
I.
no, no, no.
I'm
But
just
no.
saying that's where we need to be getting our source from.
Yes,
We
yes.
need to run the fan base and get off a clubhouse. You understand what I'm saying? So we
Yeah.
have options, but we don't run to them. We want to fact check everything from them. And when they say that we are less than, we believe that.
Yeah,
And
no.
see,
I
our
mean,
children, when you try to tell them that we're still calling ourselves a minority. And if you look up the word black, it's just all negative. We need to fight the Library of Congress and say, look, we need to change this because you do realize, and I'm not arguing with you, but you
no,
do
no.
realize that the word ghetto used to mean, and it still means to me, an impoverished Jewish community. That was the original.
Original. Yes,
That
yes,
was the
yes.
original definition. You look it up now and it says a black community that's poor. I'm paraphrasing. Okay,
Yeah.
so if they can change that to flip it on us, then we can flip it back on them and they can stop referring to everything that looks like us as being negative and our children believing it and buying into it and ended up in the prison system, ending up on the front steps of somebody's porch, ending up in these gun violence situations. We have to pull all of this together. Now, I love what you're doing. Don't get me wrong. I love what you're doing, but I had a moment.
Blessings.
I
Yeah,
had a
it's up.
moment
No, it's
because
up.
I
No,
work
but
with
we'll see.
LaShonda. Do you know I'm sorry, LaShonda Robinson?
No, I'll probably
She
do by face, but
man,
I'm not ringing the bell offhand.
she lost her son to gun violence on his grandmother's porch. They lost his father to gun violence on the same porch and his brother on the same porch. Huh?
That's the
That's
evil
like
spirit.
lightning striking twice,
Right,
three
three
times.
times, and yeah, that's that evil spirit of gun violence, and they just have to pray that bondage and decree and declare that evil spirit around their home and ask, pray the blood of Jesus over their home and be in the eagle wings of protection of the Most High God,
Yeah,
Heavenly
that's
Father,
right.
through
That's
through
right.
through through Jesus, who says He's the truth, the way, the life. So I am praying, for the city, as we speak, and I'm just simply a concerned Chicagoan who's a poet who really doesn't want another family that doesn't have to taste that bitter pill of gun violence, because a lot of the things that happens in our community that could be mitigated and prevented. But the root cause of all this, LaDonna, is trauma. So
Yeah.
we have to address the trauma in our community and provide our people with the necessary mental health and wellness services um, that we could deal with. And then Black folks have to get out of the frame that, oh, it's taboo, I don't want to get there because I don't want people to think I'm going to see a shrink count, I'm
Right.
crazy and things of that nature. Like, no, if you have some mental anguish and you need some help going through this thing called life, it's okay to go talk to somebody. You know what I'm saying? And we have to understand and learn and be cool with that, because being a Black man in America is like coming home from war every day, having post-traumatic
Mm.
stress, so because we're dealing with so much. And then just go back to the history of this country, to slavery, to Jim Crow, to civil rights, to even now the president is taking away as much as they would allow him to take away regarding Black history at certain platforms, and his mass destruction of the political system and the institutions that make America what it is. Not saying that America is great because it provides opportunity. But yeah, we still have a lot of challenges to face. And one thing about Trump, he is showing America who America really is. He's putting
Yep.
that mirror up in front of everybody and say, yep, this is who we are. And so in some sense, it's kind of good because now like Malcolm X said, I'd rather know who you are than smile on
That,
my face and smile behind my back. You know what I'm saying? So we know
that
who we
part.
dealing with. You know what I'm saying?
I'm telling you, when I said I was excited, people thought I was they thought I was crazy. No, now you see what I'm talking about. I'm like, ooh, the
Mm-hmm.
sheets are coming off. They putting the sheets on the bed now. They don't even
Mm-hmm.
have to wear them. This
No?
is great.
Yes. So now
But
you know. But
but
some of them
how?
still are cowards and hiding themselves, under those white hoodies. But
Well, they
nonetheless,
peeking. They peeking out. Is it
yeah, yeah.
safe? Okay.
Yeah. But get
Uh,
back to our Memorial Holiday Weekend, the
yeah. I was
second
gonna
annual
ask
Memorial
you,
Holiday Weekend. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
how can someone listening right now be a part of this weekend? Whether
So
they're
you
an
can follow
artist.
me.
Okay.
Yeah, that you can follow me on Instagram, Kweisi, Kweisi, the brand. Kweisi, the brand. Get all the information. Tomorrow we are on the west side, uh, at North Lawndale Community Church Market, 1807 South Carson Street from 1 to 3 p.m. It's free, open to the public. If you're a young artist, poet, comedian, singer, all family friendly lyrics, though. No explicit lyrics. Even as a human being, as a poet, I do not use explicit lyrics in my art and or in my day to day language. Now, I'm not gonna say I haven't, said a colorful word here or there. You know what I'm saying? But nonetheless,
You're
I
human.
don't I don't frequent that type of language in my day to day conversation. And Sunday we are at Larry's Barber College with Dr. Larry E. Roberts Jr. From 3 to 5 p.m., 10456 South Halsted. And then Sunday, we have our comedy encore because, LaDonna, we have to laugh through our pain. We have to learn to turn our pain into champagne. And the original diva comedy here in Chicago, Diana Cord, she will be hosting that. She is the comedian that would let me perform at the Comedy Click and or at the Cotton Club before there were, a whole bunch of, poetry spots. So I would go there and perform. So she'll be our host. It'll be downtown, 219 the Federal Plaza from 1 to 3 p.m. free. If you're a vendor, either day, you could pull up. You can keep all your earnings. Good way to come out, network, and introduce your business to the community. But I'm just passionate about this. And then we just really have to face the fact that it will take art to change the culture because Chicago per capita has more police officers than any other city in the country. Having more police officers, Republicans, Democrats, Independents, still hasn't stopped
That's
crime.
right.
You know what I'm saying? And Chicago and the state of Illinois has the most strictest gun laws in the country. Nonetheless, because of our lax neighbors, our state neighbors' gun laws, it's easy for one to go to Indiana or Michigan or Wisconsin or, Missouri, get guns illegally, pull them back to the block. But I think
They
it's on
being
us
dumped right on the block.
that too,
Right.
and so we just have to, be in a position that we have concern and be. This is why I don't watch TV. Like when I was in LA, I watched TV 24/7. Since I've been back home in Chicago 2 years or so, I don't watch TV like I used to in LA. Because being in the business, you want to know what's going on from
Right.
reality TV to
Yeah.
movies to film to docuseries. So now I barely watch TV.
Hmm.
And sometimes I get on social media and see, oh, that popped up, that's what's going on. But I don't want to become numb to the sensationalism of bleed stories.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? So I want to remain, awake, aware, and have compassion and empathy for others that, like, because I'm gonna be real with you. I would get into a dark place in the country when there was a mass shooting. And my ex-wife noticed this about me, and brought it to my attention when Parkland shooting happened. She said, I don't know if you realize this, but every time there's a mass shooting, you get into a very isolated place, a very dark place, and you drink more, and you just get in this like dark place. And I was like, oh my goodness. So every time a mass shooting happened or something tragic in that space, I became aware of it. And I said, no matter what's going on, I'm not going to drink. I'm not going to do anything, over the next several days or a week or whatever, because I felt their pain. I knew what they was about to walk upon. Like even when
Hmm.
Susie, uh, and Susie, was it Susie Cook?
I
The kids, the elementary school with the kids
oh
when Obama was president.
yes.
Sandy Cook.
Sandy Cook.
Yeah,
Yes.
and I was like, if they don't do nothing about these gun laws now, then I know they don't care about life, let alone our children's lives.
Oh
You know
yeah.
what I'm saying? And they didn't do nothing about it, more than less. It's just like, okay, let's keep it moving. It's just like, I'll be specific. These are like white old men because even when the brother shot the white man, the CEO of the health company, those
Mm-hmm.
white men at that investment meeting, that brother body was still down there. They say they started the investment meeting on time. They didn't stop. They wasn't concerned. They was like, okay, he deceased. We still got this investment meeting. It's 9 o'clock, and then they went into to their meeting. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's crime pays. It just don't pay us.
Mm.
Um, and we just have to be aware and become more involved in it. And that's what I'm seeking to do. Use my story to that people could say, okay, man, he tasted his pain. If he tasted it and he's walked through it and he's healed himself, because every day is a healing process. You know what I'm saying? It's not like I'm healed. Every day is healing, because that was a very traumatic situation. My life hasn't been the same since my brother got killed. Like even my sister, how she dealt with it, she was on drugs for almost 30 something years.
Mm.
My sister just recently got clean, been clean 18, 19 months now. You
Good
know what
for
I'm saying?
her.
And
Yes.
dealing with my brother being killed 33 years ago, turning
Yeah.
to substance abuse. And so, I mean, it affects everybody in the family differently. You know, my mother, for my mother for about 10 years, she wouldn't drive down a certain road because she's like, I don't want to see what my son saw last. So she would go 3 to 5 or 8 miles out her way just not to go down a particular road where
Yeah.
my brother
Yeah.
was taken. So yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm just seeking to be a light in the darkness. This is our second annual Memorial Holiday Weekend Ceasefire Social Impact Initiative, the Peace, Love, Forgiveness, Poetry, and Comedy on the Block. Again, if you're a comic, poet, a visual artist. One of my frat brothers, he's coming out tomorrow. He's a visual artist. He's going to curate one of his paintings. I was trying to get my boy Brill to come out, the tap dancer, to hoof with me. But he's like, Kweisi, it's our, national celebration, but it's to provide and give other young people a visual of what they could do with art. You just don't have to be in one genre, you know. So, but Little Rail was in my writing class, MTV, back in the day. I was the adult that identified his it factor as a comedian. I ain't said one more joke, but I said, young brother, you're talented. And if you come in my classroom being creative disruptive, are you this way? And you're in school. He was like, yes, Mr. Kweisi, I am. So every time we had my writing session, I would give him 2 to 3 minutes to do stand up. And I said, ask one of your teachers to let you do this once a week. One of his teachers gave him 2 to 3 minutes once a week to do his stand up. He became less destructive, creative, disruptive. He became more in tune with his grades. He saw me some years later. He's like, Mr. Kweisi, thank you for seeing that it factor in me. I'm a comedian. And this was like about 2004. At all jokes aside, he embraced me and gave me a hug. Danny Boy used to work with him when we was 13 on his
Yeah.
stage presence and his charisma
So you
and
work
being
with
confident.
quite a few people.
Yeah. So I mean,
Yeah.
I know the it factor when I see it in young people, because that's what they want. They want someone in their life that can help them identify their talent, that they can hone it and be their authentic selves.
All
You
right.
know,
Well, tell people how to reach out to you directly so that they can.
Innocentrage.org, Innocent Rage, excuse me, InnocentRageFoundation.org, InnocentRageFoundation.org. My email is there, my phone number is there. For the ceasefire movement, Kweisi the brand, Kweisi the brand. Kweisi the brand. I'm accessible like prime time. I ain't running from nobody. I'm accessible. I'm available to speak at my high school, grammar school, youth center. Matter of fact, I'm speaking at my alma mater elementary school graduation for the kindergarten on June 10th at L.H. White High School in the Pullman community on 127th of May. So I'm available. This is what I do. I have a writing curriculum, MTVP, minimize the thoughts of violence through poetry. But yeah, I'm accessible. InnocentRageFoundation.org, InnocentRageFoundation.org. On Instagram, Kweisi, Kweisi, the brand, Kweisi, Kweisi, the brand. And yes, writing poetry empower me to write, meet, and forgive the two brothers, Eric Taylor and Jonathan Jenkins, for killing my younger brother, James Lamont Ford, a.k.a. Lamont, a.k.a. Smiley, 17 years of age. At the time, he was a senior at Thornton Township High School.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Kweisi. What year was that?
That was Saturday, January 11th, 1992. I was a senior in college at Central State University, and my brother was a senior at Thornton Township. We both graduated. He graduated June 7th posthumously. My mother received his diploma.
What was his name again?
James Lemar, Lemar Ford. James Lemar Ford, a.k.a. Lamont, a.k.a. Smiley. In high school, they called him Smiley because he was always smiling and always helping, his classmates and things of that nature. Yeah. You there? Can you hear me?
I'm here. Wow.
Yeah, it was.
All this time, I don't think I put the two together. I think I knew him. I went to
Mm.
Thornton.
You did?
Yes, and I
What?
graduated in '93.
Mm. Yeah, he
And I
graduated.
remember, wow, we have to talk offline
Yeah, no,
because
because he worked in the cafeteria. He worked in the cafeteria. Tall,
yeah,
dark skin. Tall, dark
yeah.
skin. Yeah,
Oh wow.
yeah.
Okay. Ooh, I just got chills. I never even put the two together.
Wow. Mm.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I graduated in '93. I came in '91.
Okay. Yeah, I was at the graduation when he graduated June 7th, posthumously. Yeah, they.
Yeah. Yeah, I went to Thornwood my first 2 years or almost 2 years, and then I transferred to Thornton because I had a bun in the oven.
Okay.
And
Boy.
I was very quiet, kept to myself,
Mm-hmm.
and that's because I had a bun in the oven. I didn't want to talk to anybody.
Yeah, I know that's right. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But oh my gosh, yeah, we'll have to talk offline. All right,
Well, thank
guys.
you for sharing your platform with me,
Yes, I'm gonna
LaDonna Rae. I
let
greatly appreciate it. It was great to reconnect with you at the WOVN a couple of weeks ago. You know.
yes, yes. You are always welcome to come back. Thank you so much, Kweisi, for everything that you're doing. Gun violence is important to be aware of, how to avoid it. And those of you that know who the people are that are pulling those triggers, call 911, please. It's not snitching. It's ditching the problem.
Yeah,
So
yes.
don't look. It's just like being surprised that someone is in office and you didn't vote. Okay?
Mhm.
Let that sit for a minute. But if you know who's pulling the trigger, you find a way to call 911.
Yeah, call it honestly. And what we got to understand as Black people, if I can say this really quickly, LaDonna, is that snitching is when you are in a group with the people and they commit a crime and you tell on the people in the crime so you get less time. That's snitching. When you
Mm.
witness a crime and you tell, you're just a witness. That's not snitching. And then when something happens to one of us in our family, then we want everybody to
Then
come
we
to the
want
table
everybody to, yeah,
to tell us like, no, you can't have it both ways. You know
you
what I'm
can't.
saying?
You
So
cannot.
we have to be protective of each other. We say we are our brother's keeper. Let's be our brother's keeper. You know, like
Ooh.
my mom, when my sister shot and killed my nephew's father, my mom held my sister accountable because Bobby's mother called my mother and said, your daughter shot my son. And so my mom was like, my daughter didn't do that. My mom was like, okay, we're going to go to turn you in, Robbins Police Department, and we're going to deal with this. We're not running. You know what I'm saying? Parents today is like, my son, my daughter won't do that. The parents are less accountable for the teachings in which they implement regarding their children and say, my son, my daughter won't do that. Like my mom would be considered a snitch today, you know, turning in my sister. You know what I'm saying? But my mom always held us accountable to be responsible for our actions. And even if it was something as deep as what my sister had to go through, and it wasn't done on purpose. It's like, yo, this dude was beating my sister up. And I remember, you know, Bobby was a good dude, but because he saw the trauma of his dad beating up his mom, he thought that's how he should handle his girlfriend. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so he
Wow.
was, you know, just a unfortunate, you know, trauma cycle. You know.
All right.
So,
Well,
but with
thank
that
you.
being said, again, writing poetry empowered me to write, beat, and to give the two men who shot and killed my brother. We want to end on a very, very positive note. And again, don't let a 3 seconds of rage, anger, or bitterness turn into a 10 to 25-year life sentence. Think before you react. Think, people, before you react. You know what I'm saying?
All right. Well, thank you, Kweisi. Y'all just, we're so glad to have had you. And again, you're welcome to come back anytime.
Thanks for having me. Have a really beautiful evening and a happy, safe holiday weekend.
All right.
Peace, love,
You
and forgiveness.
you as well. All right, ladies and gentlemen, as you know, we have just interviewed or had a conversation, I should say, with one of the most talented individuals and activists in Chicago. I'm always happy to just, I don't know, have a platform where we can get the information out. And that is just that's like it's priceless. It's an honor. And I want to thank you all for even tuning in. But what we heard today was nowhere near poetry. It was prophecy. Okay? Kweisi reminded us that healing is possible, even from the deepest wounds. That peace isn't passive. It's a practice. And that forgiveness, whew, That could be a real revolution. This Memorial Day weekend, I challenge all of you to show up in neighborhoods, on these blocks, in these communities, for each other. Whether you're spitting bars or holding space, your presence matters. Remember, we're not just gunning for ceasefire. We're aiming for change, and we got to do it right now. Okay? Not next year, not next Memorial Day, not in the future. Right now. We are in the thick of this weekend, people. You've been listening to the LaDonna Raeh Show, where the mic meets the movement tonight. And I'll see you on the block. That's it. That's all we got. And I hope that you have been inspired to do something fantastic. Bye-bye for now.
The one and only sexy mama, LaDonna Raeh.